Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sunny Side Up podcast. I am your host, Olivia Janelle, also known as Sunny No Clouds on social media. I am incredibly excited to be here on my first episode, my first podcast. It's just like truly amazing. Before we get into today's episode, I would like to shine a little light onto how I even got here. It all comes down to back in 2014, 2015, when I first started creating content. That was just when I first got my first camera. That was a Canon 70D. Started creating videos, whatever. I wasn't consistent with it. Pandemic came and I was like, wow, people are actually making money with this. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me try and do the same thing. So I started creating content, but I wasn't consistent with it. I created my own business, pretty much just didn't get back into creating content until now. What's so funny about podcasts is that I used to talk so much shit about podcasts because I'm like, I'm a video girly. I don't understand this audio content. Like, I just can't get it. Like, I literally have the whole entire setup in here right at this current moment, but at one time I didn't. What's so interesting and so beautiful about that is a few months ago, I went through something and I'm still currently going through something that has definitely changed and shaped my life into propelling me into being who I am right at this current moment. I'm very thankful for that. What's also interesting too is I was actually on my first podcast a few months ago on the Heartstrings podcast, and I was a guest host to a friend. They know me as a friend, but they didn't know the side of the creating content side, and I just stepped into it. They were blown away. Like, it was so crazy to see. They're like, you know what? You got to start creating your own content. You need to start helping other people how to create their own content. That's where I'm here today. Everything's about timing. And I'm sure that we'll get into a further episode about timing. That word itself has been so prominent within the past few days for myself. What's so interesting about timing is that, of course, we have these downloads and we have these thoughts and these visions, and sometimes we just don't act upon them, or sometimes we want them to happen at that current moment, but it's not that current moment that it's supposed to happen at. We have to internally realize that and also trust the timing and trust the process of the timing in order for us to actually receive the exact thing that we want at the exact moment that it's supposed to happen. Whew, that was a gem there. Wow. The timing of this podcast is definitely, it was supposed to happen at the time that it's supposed to happen at. It wasn't supposed to happen back in 2020. I wasn't ready. It's supposed to happen exactly right now because I personally didn't know what name I would have for my podcast or anything like that. And I do have some notes that I do want to share. When I first was trying to figure out the name for my podcast, it actually is in true alignment of who I am, what my name is on social media, but most importantly, who I am in person and what I stand for. The whole purpose of the Sunny Side Up podcast is looking on the bright side, provides an opportunity to see our way out of the blinding dark into hope and a renewed determination to not only survive, but to live life to its fullness and to thrive. Wow. It is a powerful and amazing reality that we can choose to be happy and optimistic in spite of our circumstances. The whole purpose of having the Sunny Side Up podcast is to really look on the bright side of any situation that we come across within our lives. What's so crazy is that I had a Instagram live the other day with a few members of this program that I am in, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that program that I am in. And yeah, I'm gonna allow myself to have that moment. I'll speak about it in the future. But we were discussing about this podcast and me actually starting it. When we were discussing it, his name is Daniel. He asked me this question and he's just like, how do you look on the positive side of any circumstance that you have? I told him, we only have two choices. We can either focus on the positive or we can focus on the negative. And whatever we focus on will determine the outcome of that situation. So I remember and many times within my life when I was younger, and even currently right now, if I chose to look at the negative aspect of whatever situation that was, that's what ended up becoming the outcome. And instead of showing up as a negative person, because we're human, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to say, oh, hey, instead of choosing to be in the negative aspect of it, I chose to be in the positive aspect. I know I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to try and reclaim it back a little bit. bit here. We're diving a little deep into my childhood and also the different circumstances that I've had in the past that if you looked at the situation, you would think more negatively than to think positively of it. Because I remember as a kid, as a little girl, just trying to look at brighter days. And what's so interesting, if I may, I'm gonna go into how I discovered my name, which is Sunny No Clouds. I was in tutoring because I was always ineligible for playing sports. I'm not ashamed. At the time, I wasn't ashamed of it either because it like consistently kept on going and I'm like, I have to accept it, right? So there was this one time where I was coming out of the tutoring room it was a trailer. It was not attached to the actual school. I went to a college preparatory school, first of all. That was tough, right? I came outside. I was in not a social identity crisis, but I was just like trying to think of a name to change my name on Instagram. At the moment, I looked outside. There were no clouds. And the only thing that was out was the sun. My tutor, she would always say, "Good morning, sunshine," because I was always happy and I was always positive. I am always happy and I am always positive. It's just a beautiful thing to see it being on fire and it's showing to other people. I'm leaving my mark on other people. And I think that's so beautiful. Going back to me having that Instagram live, I've known this person for maybe 2 to 3 months. He ended up calling me Sunny instead of Olivia. And I think that's amazing. What's so beautiful about being Sunny, being in this whole ray of sunshine, is that it brings me happiness. I love going outside. It brings me a lot of joy. I did make some notes here. This goes into a Bible scripture, which is John 12:46. Jesus said, "I have come into the world as a light so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness." When I realized that that was in the Bible, not only did I know that my name, the Sunny No Clouds and Sunny Side Up, and what I'm doing in this world is actually my calling. Like, this is my purpose. My purpose is to help people get out of their darkness and shine some light on it. Teach them how to love themselves a little bit more every single day. I am having some more technical difficulties with everything that I have right now, but I know this episode is cut a little short, but I do want to say this. I have every excuse in the book not to make this podcast, but I'm going to ask you this question. How often do you make excuses for yourself in your life for the things that you want to do? Probably quite often. As I close out this episode, if you enjoyed this episode and if you think that you have somebody within your life that could receive this, and I'm sure there are people within your lives that could receive this message, please send it to them because you are walking in your light and you're walking in the light that is your potential, that is your future. I'm incredibly grateful to be here on episode 1 of the Sunny Side Up podcast. Like, I have every excuse. It's 1:09 a.m. I have every excuse to not create this podcast episode, and I'm here. I'm not in my normal beautification. I could say that I'm not wearing my hair that I normally have it in. I could say that it's 1 a.m. in the morning. I could say all these different excuses, but what's most important to myself is actually showing up, because that's one thing that I can consistently do is show up every single day for myself, but also for the future self, because the future self determines who I show up as today. I just want to thank you for tuning into my first episode. It was a little bit short-lived, but we're having some technical difficulties. It's okay, because with intention caused disruption, and we have to just continue to roll with the punches every single day, no matter how challenging every single thing is, because we're constantly going to be in a challenge every single day. You are the determining factor to make that challenge into a positive challenge, into change, because it is a choice that you can make every single day. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope to see you all in the next one, and I'm sure that there's going to be a section where you can drop questions. If you are here on YouTube or are you listening to the audio version, please let me know any questions that you have, any topics that you would like me to discuss. I'm all ears here. I can't wait to see you in the next I can't even speak. I need to go to bed. I can't wait to see you all in my next episode. Bye.